everyone. Welcome back to Design Uncensored. My name is Stella Guan, founder and CEO of Path and Bound. And today we're really glad to welcome back Carrie McPherson as our regular house guest for this show. Hi, Carrie. How are you doing today?
I am doing really well, Stella. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. So today we have a very interesting, information-packed, and exciting episode because we're going to talk about a question that a lot of folks have been wondering, especially if you're new to the industry, you're trying to be a designer, and you hear this you hear this term a lot, product designer. Now, some interior designers or industrial designers students might be confused as well because that term has been used in your industry previously. So we're going to unpack a lot of the stuff in this episode, and we're also going to have a few case studies from big tech companies that we want to take a look at. So really looking forward to your insights, Carrie. So the first thing I want to talk about is there is a video that you sent to me a while ago, which is very interesting. It's previously, I think he was a programmer, right? And he made a video about what programmers actually do. Can you explain to us a little bit about that video? What was it about and what intrigued you about it?
Definitely. I think it was a really great, well-made video. I think it's the most comprehensive video that I've seen on programming period on YouTube. It was a guy named Jarvis Johnson. He worked at Patreon. He also interned at Google and a lot of other companies. And he was an engineering manager at Patreon, and he worked at Yelp and all these other different places. But he was saying the reason he was making a video is that a lot of people think that people learn to program just so they can build websites. And that kind of paints the wrong picture. And he used YouTube as an example, right? So he said, so now we need a way to store user behavior and collect data. That's a job right there. Or now we need a way to pay out content creators, right? There's a job right there. Let's say I'm a bad guy and I want to use a bunch of bots to watch a bunch of videos. Okay, we need to catch that because that is fraud and advertisers don't want to work with us. So that's a job right there. And when I saw that, it was like, yeah, there are all these different programming roles that go really in depth and that it is kind of nuanced and very fragmented. And I feel that way about product design as well. And that's why I kind of brought it up to your attention.
Yeah, definitely. It's not immediately related to our world, even though it's very much adjacent to it. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the origin of the term product designer. So a few times I went out to networking events many years ago. I've heard a few people complain about the term product designers because many of them are industrial designers and they were looking for jobs. And when they type in product designers, which was what they were told that that's their profession, they found a lot of jobs and they were very excited because they thought, wow, a lot of people are hiring. That's great. And as soon as they click into the job descriptions, they were confused and even angry because that's not at all what they do. Instead, it's about, digital products, which they know nothing about. So historically speaking, if you talk about product design, it means that you're designing for something physical, like consumer products, like a mouse, a water bottle, a bike, anything that we can use in everyday lives. But Silicon Valley at some point, I don't actually know when, borrowed the term and evolved it into meaning that people who are able to help companies build really, intricate and hopefully well done digital products. But maybe that's an oversimplified way of explaining it. I don't know, because in this episode, we're going to really explore this in depth. So what do you think of this, I guess historic confusion of the term, and how do you yourself define product designers?
So I think my definition and the reasons that product design just came to be is because let's just start first and foremost on the original UX, right? How it worked. There was 2 to 3 different people on a team trying to solve the same problem. And now a product designer is kind of combined into one. So you're combining UX and UI, right? And you're focused on the overall, end-to-end process of the entire journey of the product. And you see it all the way through. Even after developers have shipped it, right? It's deployed, people are using it, it's still your problem. It's still something that you have to go back to and kind of do research on. So I think another issue as well is that a lot of times product designers And well, UX designers originally were kind of cut off from, kind of disconnected, right, from the business. They were disconnected from like product managers and developers and all these other different people. And I can imagine how going through a middleman of a researcher, a UX designer, then a UI designer, how messy that could be and how a lot of stuff can get lost in translation. But when you think of a product designer, someone that can do it all, and plus they know the strategy, right, with their PM, they can work through business problems and be more connected to their cross-functional peers. In my opinion, it makes sense. So the way that I would define a product designer is someone that's not only just focused on users, but they're focused on the overall strategy of the product, and they're in an embedded product team, and they're basically a business consultant for a digital product.
Yeah, I like that definition because it really outlines the expectations and the multiple hats, and really from more of an integrated standpoint that a product designer needs to know and be able to do. If, in a way, I think it's a very high level, like hybrid role that requires you to have not only design chops, but also a passion and a good understanding for business. And in a way, it's you're, as a product designer, you're a very good partner to the business that you're working for. So I guess, in terms of, in this context, it helps to really dive into some companies that we all have heard of, like the big tech companies that normally hire product designers, to see what those designers actually do for those companies, right?
Yeah.
So a few days ago, you sent me another interesting video about a team in Netflix that we don't even know exist. It was from a presentation, and would you tell us a little bit about that? What team was it, and why did you find it intriguing?
Definitely. It was the Studio XD team at Netflix. And the reason that I found it intriguing is because when you look on Netflix, when anyone looks at Netflix on a surface level, they don't realize that it's a lot of engineers working on that product. And not only that, it's a lot of product designers. I'm pretty sure Netflix has over 100 product designers, and like Meta as well, right? They have like over 400. I think, matter of fact, probably more than that, because Meta has like four
Probably.
VPs of product design, which
Yeah.
is shocking to me, and kind of mind blowing that like design has gotten to that point. And then
Mhm.
like, even other companies like Microsoft or IBM, they have like 8,000 designers
Oh, yeah,
as well,
easily.
something like
Mhm.
that. So you're like, what could 1,000 or 200 or 100 product designers be doing at Netflix? It's just, an app, right? And people love
Exactly.
the argument. I can design that in an hour or in a day. With the Studio XD team, though, what they focus on is like non-design specific at all. They focus on getting together. If I have this right, I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but what they apparently focus on is like the algorithms, as far as like helping Hollywood understand the way that people communicate and watch films and all these other different things. And it's super nebulous, it's super experimental, and you get to create charts. And I think Messenger, they even have teams like that, right, on understanding the way that people message each other, in the way that they run polls, or the way that they send certain messages, or the way that they respond. And it's like super deep, because a lot of people keep thinking that engineers are working on this problem, but now product designers are working with engineers and even other product people on these like very kind of abstract problems.
That's actually really interesting and surprising. I guess not surprising, but very intriguing to me, because it almost seems like it's a lab that are working on experimental stuff that it has a scientific aura to it, which I think is very cool and very much necessary. And it's really valuable intelligence for their clients, right? Like I would assume this data, this information, rich quantitative and qualitative data would inform business decisions. So if you think about it, it's like, wait, is that design? Right. Like, but I feel like nowadays the term design can be, effective in so many ways. So I feel like design has expanded in scope, really. And of course, when we look at things, like we were just joking before the recording, and you were saying how people think, an app like Instagram can be so simple, right? Because honestly, if we look at it as a bunch of icons, it's a bunch of photos, some videos, and then some algorithms that nobody likes. And that seems to be about it. But in reality, Instagram, part of Meta, right, employs a lot of people, and a large portion of them are designers. So you also mentioned that within Instagram, there is also a team that normally we don't expect them to exist, but they actually exist, and it makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us what that team is?